Hey everyone, shoenice again. Well, basically, I'm going to tell you my life story. It's going to be a 3-part series. We'll see where the audible goes. Either way, guys, if you're coming in late, that's okay. I'm going to download these videos and they'll also be in video form on YouTube. Because in the end, I think my story will be one of the greatest ever told. On occasion, you'll hear me taking a sip off of some water. I can ramble on forever, but I really just want to break it up into like 3 different sections of my life. I'm not going to use real names, not going to disrespect anybody. This is all about me, and everything else was an outside entity of my destiny. Mind over matter. I don't have a mind, so it don't matter. Everybody tries to think back on their childhood and, shocking things, scary movies. We just have that memory that goes back maybe to like 3 or 4 years old. So anyways, I was born May 30th, 1969. My father was kind of an entrepreneur trying out different businesses. He was a tough guy in South Albany, New York, on 1st Street. Everybody knew my dad. He came from a boxing family, and his grandfather was a bare knuckles boxer. So everybody knew that dude, and he just went into one of them little fountain soda shops you see on Back to the Future. And, he looked past McFly, and he seen this hot chick, and they hooked up. Either way, they had a baby. That was my older brother. And then it came me, and I was just like, hey, what's up, world? So if I think back as far as I can, it's just like I remember things like hanging out at like family gatherings, whether it was a birthday party, a wedding, I don't know. There was a lot of cans of beer. It was the Rip Tab, Schlitz, Schaefer. And my Uncle Joe that married my aunt, which was my father's sister, beautiful lady, took care of me and my brothers like it was her own. And we would just, everything was just like on Christmas. My uncle would come in the front door with a keg on his shoulder, obviously empty. But yeah, Uncle Joe would always come in. Schaefer is the one beer to have when you're having more than one. You know what I mean? So I just remember everything was beer, beer, beer. In the summer, my parents drank so much beer. We had to use their old koozies, to keep the beer cans, cold. Yeah, we used their old koozies for arm floaties in the public pool. No, I think it was Saratoga Lake. You laugh, you keep a full-grown man afloat. So either way, we're just, swimming around. I got Lysa Beach on one arm, going fishing on the other. Swimming around like Michael Phelps. Other kids with them big bulky things. Hey, I can't even reach the dance. Watch out. Lysa Beach coming through. So anyways, yeah, man, there's a lot of beer drinkers. And back then, just, an aunt would just hand you a beer. They knew it would, help you sleep at night, whatever. So we just eventually moved on, and my father would start out with these different companies, and I just remember like moving. I was born in Albany, New York, St. Peter's Hospital, tiny little thing. And now it's a huge hospital, but the picture of when I was born in it, I guess Jeff was, and then my little brother came along. So my father had 3 crazy sons. I don't know where it comes from. It wasn't like crazy, just like draw a Sharpie on the side of the neighbor's house kind of crazy. None of our Christmas toys lasted more than a week. I don't know what it was. Our cousins, they had like stacks in the basement of different years of Christmas toys. We got the Muppets one year. Yeah, Animal, Kermit the Frog. Hi, guys. And yeah, I don't know what we did to them, but they didn't last. They didn't last. I asked for a baby carriage and a baby, and me and my brothers, we went to the top of our backyard hill. And I don't know, my older brother knew where the gasoline was. So everybody, there wasn't video cameras back then. Just all the neighbors, they knew if something happened in the neighborhood, it was the Shoey brothers. We tried to keep a clean slate, but man, it was tough. So we ended up back in Queensbury, New York. We went out to Cortland, New York. I went to actually do a roof on the mall that was behind my old house as a 5-year-old. And I was just like, I was like, hey, I lived in Cortland. We're going there to work because I was a commercial roofer. We'll get to that in probably part 3. And I was just like, yeah, there it is. That old house. The old house. Oh, man. I mean, this neighbor of ours, him and his wife had this beautiful train model set. I mean, you went down into his basement and he had decades of work. And I don't know, that train was coming through the tunnel. My older brother, Jeff, he just smacked the front engine and everything just went to pieces. I mean, American pickers, Frank and Mikey, they would have broke down and cried. So, yeah, my father's just like, yeah, these neighbors, blah, blah, blah. But my father was also cheating on my wife with the neighbor. It's just, we won't get into that. So we went back to Queensbury, New York. And, Queensbury, New York, top wrestling school. And me and my brothers, we're just everybody in the Shoey family, on my dad's side, we're just all dudes with huge hands. And like my grandfather, Golden Glove. So it's just in the blood to box. And someday I'm hoping I can be a TikToker that boxes. We'll call it tick boxing. Either a tick boxer, you know what I mean? So I'm just sitting there and, it's not really arguing or anything, but it seems like, my parents aren't getting along. What am I doing? I'm just like walking around the house eating strange things. To make my brothers go, ooh, I just do be doing crazy stuff. And one time my father left out his Camel cigarettes, non-filtered. And yeah, man, I literally ate like half the pack. My mother came in the living room. I don't remember that one. But I went to the hospital and she said years later I almost passed away from a nicotine overdose. You can't eat cigarettes as a 4-year-old. So my mom was always pulling stuff out of my mouth. And then I headed off to nursery school. Now there's a nursery school picture. I'm going to have to ask somebody in the family like my niece because I don't talk to anybody else. But there's a picture of me in nursery school. And it was my first bully, and it was literally Mike from Breaking Bad. Quick TV reference. Look at this blue-eyed freak. So I'm going to get that picture and somehow post it because that was Mike from Breaking Bad as a kid bullying me. I don't know what it was, but he was my first bully and not the last. And I'm just like in our class, and I don't know, it was just Elmer's paste. Even if you took the cap off, it had a spoon right there. And just Elmer's paste. I mean, they replaced it with glue sticks now, but Elmer's paste I really love the flavor of Elmer's paste wrapped like a taco in a piece of notebook paper. And I was 5. So anyways, my uncles, they used to come over and visit. They were cool then, not anymore. But yeah, like my Uncle Squeaky, that was his name. But he always loved me and Jeff and my other brother, Matt. And they'd bounce us off the couch, boom, boom, boom. And this is my first recollection of being a kid. Now, this is the first scar I'll show you. Where is it? It's coming across here, I think. Yeah. Now that's the first scar I'll show you. And yeah, it's a whole map of my life on my head. And he bounced me off of the couch and I went into the fireplace. Now, you see how big it is on this noggin now? I was only 5. So I'm on the way to the hospital, sitting on my mom's lap, my dad driving, and she's holding on to my head. And I'm like, we don't have to go to the hospital. It's fine. I remember 5 years old saying, it's going to be okay. Go back home. Hanging out with Uncle Squeaky. And I had an Uncle Moose too. And an Uncle Ricky and Uncle Joe. But Uncle Joe was cool. He helped me out with a mortgage payment, and I haven't paid him back to this day. Maybe I did. I don't think so. So I'm just like, yo, we get to the hospital and I'm in the emergency room, and I just remember being in a bed, and this lady's like, well, we're just gonna, and I fell asleep. So I wake up, and the lady in the bed next to me, let's get that right. And I was just like, yo. And my mom's like, oh my God, it's Aunt. So my aunt was rushed to the hospital, and she's in the ER. I guess she had a stroke or a heart attack, but she came to. So my aunt's there, and I'm like, oh, everything's going to be all right. And that was the first memory I remember of being a child. And then it just, here we go. Here's why I became the legend I am today. So either way, my parents, they never fought in front of us. My father and his father, my grandfather, they'd argue and like try, they'd go straight at it. But my mother and my father never argued. Now, my mom, she was just this hot, red-haired Irish lady, and she got implants, like when implants weren't even that famous. So she was a hottie. She was like 28, I think 27. And wait, hold on. Either way, she had 3 boys, me and my brothers, and she wasn't 30 yet. So my father, he's like, I can't, blah, blah, blah. And they split. Either way, skip that whole divorce scene. My mother's first apartment, she got a 2-bedroom over a landlord. You never rent an apartment over a landlord. I've learned that for years. So did my mom. So now we're like, cool. We don't have a father yelling at us. My mom, she gets us a babysitter. Me and my brother's just chilling in the one big bedroom. And my mom's she's just getting banged from child support. You know what I mean? And the neighbors were crazy. Now this is South Street, Glens Falls, right down from the hospital, thank God, because we're coming into scar number 2 on the scars that tell my life. Well, you want to see where these scars came from? So I'm just like, yo, this guy's fixing his bike. Now I'm already eating grass, and I'm just doing tricks for the neighbors. God, Jeff Wells, I remember his name. We met on Facebook, and he apologized for the hammer scar. So he was a bully and always picked on me. That was my second bully that I can remember. First was Mike from Breaking Bad, and this dude, Jeff Wells. And he's just like, yo, I'm trying to get to chain guard. So I'm literally like, we flipped the bike over upside down when all there was Schwinn's. And like when you rode your bike and you crashed, you sometimes bend where the chain, connected. And the dude's like, yo, man, is it straight? And I'm like, hold on, let me look. I went down, and he came across, and he missed. He was trying to straighten out the spoke, and it, boom, hit me right there. Right there is the hammerhead of a tool he got out of his father's shed. I turned into LA Beast. Hey, have a nice day. And I just was like, yo, and blood just everywhere. I remember my mom coming down the stairs, and she didn't have a towel. She just seen this massive explosion of blood coming out of my head. So she took off her pants. And wrapped them around my head, threw me into I think it was the 1979 station wagon still, just like Chevy Chase drove in the movie Vacation. So Glens Falls Hospital, South Street, right there. I think that was the hospital I went to like 4 times for eating the cigarettes and blah. And, I had like a plaque on that hospital wall for like the dude that visited the most. So anyways, the landlord was like, oh no, you gotta go, ma'am. You're coming home 3 a.m. drunk with this street band of yours. Your sons are insane. The squirrels, the birds, they don't come around anymore because of your kids. So we had to move. So we went to South Glens Falls, English Village Apartments. Good old English Village Apartments. You know, as kids, you could walk through the woods and see a movie theater that wasn't, or drive-in that wasn't made for kids. Too funny. One day, my brother, he was like the leader. Me and my little brother, we would just chill and watch cartoons, and my older brother would be like, nah, we're going to go out and start some trouble. So I guess we snuck into the electrical grid of the English Village Apartments, and my father at the time was top dog in that electrical grid community. And know my father said someday the electrical grid is going to fail. And my brother shut down the grid with one handle, and it just, you know, there was, I guess, a lady with an oxygen tank. She was okay, but the landlord said, you got to go. And the whole landlord community knew about the Shoey boys and their red-haired mother with the nice beeps. And she's like, all right, I'm going to have to go rent a house out in the country. So she drove to Hartford, New York, and she rented out a house there. And the farmer, the Tyler farm, Hartford, New York, good people, actually. He became like the father of us. Just, you need a beating sometimes. Knocking over all his hay bales. I didn't know they had to be stacked in a certain way. And they got wrecked when the strings broke. We were just kids. We used to swim in a pond with this much mud in it. It wasn't mud. And we would just say, get out of there. We'd be up there petting cows in a pond. Just nastiness. We had a pool in the backyard. We rented a house from 1789. It was right in the slate, 1789. And that's when they maybe just poured a new basement. Haunted as a mofo. I'm just telling you, it was crazy. So me, my brothers, you couldn't even control us on a farm. Plus they had 3 brothers across the street. We're just as crazy as us. And we're out there making trouble with the bulls. Like there was one bull, and you jump and see how fast you could run, like Forrest Gump, and that bull would come at you. And it was always just Mr. Tyler, control your kids, and he would just, smack us on the, back end and say, go home. So my mom had like 14 cats. She was a good lady. She loved animals. So there was these farm animals, and my mom would just go down, get the milk. We all became like one little community, but I got bullied again. But this time by a chick. Get on the school bus. She had a glass eye. And it was just crazy. And she would turn around, and I was like 4th grade. She was 6, I think. She was like, look in my eye. Look in my right eye. And I'm like, the right eye or the right eye? The eye on your right or the eye I should look into? And she just smacked me in the face. I think, most chicks that picked on me back in the day, like I'd be on the swing, and every time I came back, they just kicked me. I think they had a crush. They just didn't know how to show it. I'm like, come on, man. I'm in 5th grade trying to hang out on the playground. I got to fight chicks. So, my brother, he goes off to the auction with the farmer and the family, and me, my brother, and mom hanging at home. And literally, like, he brings home a one-eyed hamster. It still makes me cry to this day, but you go to the auction, and all these cattle people buying cattle, whatever, tractors, but the kids they have a little auction, and you can bid on like stuff, or just, so my brother bid on, so he got like a one-eyed hamster for $0.25. And he brought it in the house in a shoebox, and my mom's like, what are you doing? There's 14 cats in here. That thing won't last the night. It didn't. As far as I can remember, as a child, I was just laying in bed, and I just, got done, gnawing off the windowsills, good paint back then. And the dude was like, Man, he set it up on the counter, or my brother Jeff set it up on his dresser, and those little holes poked in, so the little one-eyed hamster could peek out and say, "Oh my God, here comes my death." So I just went, and I mean, like 14 cats, up and down, up and down. My mom with a broom. My little brother running out, no, Sparky, or Spot, or One Eye. I forgot what we named it. And literally, all it was the shoebox, fingernail, and just, yeah. So that's just, that's what I remembered. Just swimming around in a pool that was never maintained for like years. And the farmer would be like, you guys are going to get some disease in there. Me and my brother swimming around, it'd be like this much algae, some ducks landing there. Hey, quack, quack. You know what I mean? So eventually, my mom, she was just partying, full, getting paid. She loved my dad, and he left her for another woman. It was tough on her, but she got paid. And she was having a time of her life, so she just trusted us to watch. My brother got kicked out of the house when he was in 5th grade. And he was kicked out under the front porch. My mom knew he could go across the street to the Tylers. And he literally goes, to my little brother. And my brother's like, ha, ha. And my brother punched him through the window. I was like, I went upstairs. So then my brother, my mom, they're just battling it out. The next day, me and my little brother, we were just doing Randy Savage against Andre the Giant. I'm going to get you, Andre. Ah! And I smacked my brother's head off the coffee table and blood went everywhere. And I'm like, oh man. So Mrs. Tyler comes over. You better not have been messing around. I said, no, he slipped, and he just hit his head. She said if he slipped, it would have been on the back of his head. No, he slipped after I body slammed him. What are you going to do? You're not my landlord. And my mom happened to be on a vacation. My brother would watch us in 5th grade for a whole weekend. And she comes back. What's going on? And my bro's got stitches in his head. Hold on a second. Most of you will hear this on an Audible, and you'll never even see it on TikTok. So either way, if you want to find this whole real looking at you kind of a story, then, because this will probably be on Amazon Audible someday. So yeah, soon enough, the social services showed up. Mrs. Tyler was sick of it, and my father was called, and he's like, you come get your 3 sons, or they're going to orphanage. And my father's like, no, they're not. So he came and grabbed us with this hot, stepmother of ours. And, we just headed down the hill. We had 1 barrel, my father said. All our clothes fit into one. Everything we owned, because we wrecked all our toys. There was no Christmas where our toys weren't wrecked within that week. I don't know what it was. Are there other kids out there like that? So, and then we just moved in with our father and stepmother. And yeah, man, it was a 1-bedroom apartment. I remember we'd fold out the couch, and me and my 2 brothers would watch like The Incredible Hulk, Dukes of Hazzard, and eventually my father's like, yeah, this ain't going to work. So he went and he bought a house out in Averill Park. Good old Averill Park, New York. You want to head up Capitol Boulevard from Route 43? We were the first house on the left. And that whole neighborhood threw a party when the Shoey boys left. Either way, we were just, we moved into this house. Like my father was, you're just born a master craftsman, like carpenter. You can learn all the classes, but to just nail a nail with a hammerhead, and it's in your blood. I just never paid attention to it. So he did this house all over with, but I mean, it was like him trying to raise me and my brothers, which we were kind of crazy. My brother skipped 60 days of 6th grade before the teacher called and asked about my brother. He 60 days, he'd pretend to go on the bus because he was bullied. Now, right now, I mean, you ever remember the movie The Outsiders? I mean, my brother Jeff looked like Rob Lowe, and all the girls liked him. I looked like, I don't know, and all the girls liked me. And it was literally like the Shuey brothers. Oh, so all other dudes hated dudes when the girls liked you. And I didn't even like them or them. You know what I mean? The girls or the dudes hitting on the chicks. But my brother used to run down the bus and all these bullies chasing him just like Forrest Gump. And he'd run up to the porch and I'd open up the door and shut it. And these were neighbors right across we'd hang out with them and stuff. The Capitol Boulevard gang. It was just a bunch of nerds. The Milanese, they were good people. So yeah, we were just, living life. I went into like 5th grade there. I came out of the country school, which was cool because it just smelled like cow manure. All the kids went in, they milked all the cows, and then they just, they went to school. I mean, you just see like cow manure in the hallway. But this teacher, I was a class clown. I was always a class clown. If I wasn't eating a piece of notebook paper to make somebody laugh, I wasn't a bully, but I would rip on you to get laughs. You know what I mean? In a friendly kind of way. I mean, nobody ever touched me as a class clown. I was voted class clown in 2 different high schools, and I wasn't even in either one of them. So we were just chilling and stuff. And, the teacher actually smacked me in the head. My mother came to the school and said, "You ever hit my kid? You can hit any kid in this room. Don't ever hit my kid." So now we're in like a real school. Like, this is cool. I'm 5th grade, 3 classes, and I'm just chilling. But yeah, here it comes, Jay. Good old JM. I won't say his real name. We fought all the way up for 30, 40 years. And I just send it. Thanks for the donation. Appreciate it. I'm not going to mention donations because this will be an Amazon Audible someday. Top 100. Everybody reads what everybody's reading. And I'm just like, yo, man, I'm just like fighting everybody. Fighting the 4th grade dude, the 5th grade dude. I'm just like, leave me alone. This chick kept asking me out in 5th grade, and I'm like, I don't want to date no chicks. The bully Jay came up to me with a letter. He said, there's a question in there, and you better answer yes or I'm going to beat you up. I'm like, what's going on here? I'm being like threatened. I open it up. Will you go out with me, yes or no? I was like, no. I just threw the paper at him, and we started fighting. It was really weird. Then we moved on to 6th grade, and I just started becoming that class clown. In home economics, where you learned how to cook, I'd be eating all the baking soda and powder, and it'd just come out of my mouth like smoke. And people loved me. It didn't matter. It just shoenice. If you were in my class, I made you laugh so hard, I would go to the principal's office. Teachers calling home every night. My little brother playing like my dad because he had a really baritone voice for a 6th grader. Yeah. I'll be talking to them tonight. You two get down here right now. Thanks, Mr. Johnson. At the days when teachers would call home. So I moved up through 6th grade, 7th grade. Oh my God, the bullies. Yeah, don't ever bully anybody. Just, get along. And I just remembered we were in home economics, and I had the 3 biggest bullies in there. And they're like, you better eat another teaspoon of salt. And they'd like punch me in the ribs. I'm like, this doesn't bother me. This is perfect. This is Mrs. Dowd. She ended up dating my dad. My dad dated 2 health teachers in my high school. Just a factoid. So I'm just sitting there, and then 8th grade comes around, and I'm like, no more. No more. I'm done with it. So my father had like a heavy bag, speed bag, and like you just work out. My father, it was all mirrors and everything in the basement. I think my brother eventually moved into it, or they made it after my brother moved out. But yeah, so it was just in my blood. I was just scared to fight somebody. And I went into 9th grade, and I don't know, something changed, and I'm just a beast. And then I started wrestling, and I never lost a match. And I'm just like, yeah, this is cool. But I was always eating crazy stuff in the cafeteria. We used to put me up against the wall, and everybody would dip their old napkins into their milk cartons. You'd open up the corners, so you just stick your hand right in and make giant spitballs and just whip them at me. And I'd catch them in my mouth, or they'd slap up, and the teacher's aide would run over. But the teacher's aides were like in love with me. I wrestled with all their kids and stuff, and it's just like, sit at the table so I can look at your beautiful blue eyes, you know? And I was just like, yo, this is going to take off somewhere someday. And everybody used to say that. We started partying. And I'm just like, my best friend, he's in heaven now. He ended his life, and everything gets better. That's all I'm going to say about that. Everything does get better. I'm 53. I've been to hell and back like 10 times. So I'm just chilling, and this dude's like, yo, come on up. I'm like, dude, what do you live up above me now? Cause I didn't really hang out with the other neighbors, cause they were like goodies. And the dude's like, yo, and he sparked one up, and that was it. Me and him, we like literally just one day he's like, let's run away. Cause my father and stepmother were mean. His real mom was just like, me and him had a Super Bowl party all by ourselves, and I bit into a Dorito and it fell on the ground. And I tell you, she came at me like a Hoover vacuum cleaner. But it was weird because a lot of my friends' moms, I don't know, it seemed like they just, they crossed the line and saying hi to me. And it is a story of my life, because I'm not trying to brag. I'm just a good looking guy, triple threat, funny, and just and it was the story of my life. Me too, me too. So I'm just chilling and stuff. And he's just like, yo, man, this is how it is, bro. I'm like, you're the soccer team. And he's like, we had beer balls. So we would get beer balls, right? And it's like, my father would get them for parties for like 20 to 30 adults. And it was me and like 6 of us. John P., Ray, Eric, all the Averill Park dudes. When we went to the mall, everybody just hit on us. Something about the water in Averill Park. It was just like, no, we just all came out looking like Channing Tatum had a baby with John Cena. It was weird. We all had the same feature. We were the Outsiders. When the Outsiders movie came out, it was just like, everybody flocked to us just to hang out with us. And this is even before the internet. Everybody knew that dude. We go to college parties in high school. Everybody, me and my brother, we ended up moving above our dad. So everybody was always just attached to the shoeies and their friends and everything about it. We taught so many people how to just do everything, from going to a Grateful Dead concert and having a good time to, really good times. So anyways, me and Shannon, we said, let's run away. So we bought the car off of Tim, our neighbor, and we just took off with this car with a huge dent in it. I wrote 2 checks against my father's bank account, and I just had to go down to Key Bank and say, hey, and I said, I'm going on vacation, my dad. And I came back with another one, and she kind of looked fishy at me, but then it was just like, it was 1986. 85, 86. So, it wasn't anything, they knew my dad, they knew me, and there's no way I'm robbing my father for $500. I had a lot of money back then. So anyways, we ran away. We were going to Florida. We were going to start a business. What are we going to do, man? It doesn't matter. We're free. We were 16. So his name was Shannon Joy, and I was Chris Shuey. When we told our names to a cop, he was laughing. We never made it to Florida. We made it to Virginia Beach. He came back one day. He's like, dude, we're going to be drug dealers. I'm like, what? And he threw all this stuff out. I said, dude. So like the next night, he's disappeared. He comes back, man. He's like, yo, they try to kill me. And I called my mom and I said, hey, Mom, is there any way you can buy me a bus ticket from Virginia? Where are you? Your father's looking for you. Yeah, I'm coming back to your trailer. We'll talk about it when I get there. He goes, you kids. She used to call us knuckleheads. Oh, you knucklehead. So I would go up and, I chilled with my mom. And I was just like, all right, I got to go back home. So I went back home, and my father's like, anything else you want to tell me about? And I'm like, you're going to get like 2 checks in the mail because it takes like 30 days. Credit cards back in the day, they were real credit cards because it was a piece of paper. And so it was sent into the credit card company for 30 days. It's not instantaneous like now. But either way, I came home and I went back to, I was in Doane Stewart. I kind of skipped over that, but it just like I was just in high school with my buddy, and I ended up going to a private school because my father thought it would help me out. But it really didn't. It just ended up me being, drinking, more expensive liquor. And I hung out with some of the top elite Albany, New York's kids, like just real estate mogul, just a bunch of rich kids. And here comes the Shuey brothers. Now, my brother, he went there since 9, and I switched over because prom was coming around, and like 12 girls asked me to the prom. And I'm like, I'm just going to go to a different school. So my father's like, why do you want to do this? I'm like, I just, better education, right? That's all. My father got a master's degree in statistics through night school over 15 years. And half the time was raising his crazy sons. So I'm just like, so I go to this private school, and I'm just a class clown there getting in trouble, blah, blah, blah. So I ended up just going, watch this. And I cut a couple of the piano strings on, this piano, and they were going to use it for a recital. I didn't know that people were coming from, across the world, because these kids were border students. Like literally, the Mexican cartel would send their daughters, and they would go off to the mall in a van to meet the Shuey brothers and whoever else we wanted to hang around with. It was always about the Shuey brothers. Everything revolved around us. We brought 4 different high schools together, and just there's been kids from that. So I'm just like, I'm just like chilling and stuff, and they go off to the recital, and we're all sitting in the audience, and they started playing, and doink. And the girl just broke down, cried, ran out of the room. I didn't think maybe she would have used that key, or I didn't even think they were going to use that piano. But the next day, I was in the discipline committee. They changed it over. They had to kick me out, and then I had to go in front of it, and they had 2 witnesses come in. Yeah, I seen him cut. And I said, you know what's going to happen, right, Snitch? So I was just like, what's going to happen now? And they said, we think you have a drinking problem. I'm like, who told you this? And they're like, can you go talk to this counselor at this place? And I ended up going and talking, and my father's like, hey, we brought your luggage, and they're going to have you here for 7 weeks. I said, 7? Why? Because my mom's a drunk and I party with some. I said, whatever. I'll take this Conifer Park over. So I ended up going to rehab. I didn't know anything about acid, mushrooms, nothing. But it just, what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to stop it here. And that's going to be part 1. Heading into rehab, 1987, when I was 16. We're going to end that here, and I'm going to download this so I can save it. And always remember, part 2 of the shoe coming at you.